Hello and welcome to the CX Files for 7th November 2024. My name is Mark Hillary and I'm in Sao Paulo, Brazil.
And I'm Peter Ryan in Montreal. Mark, great to catch up with you. What is it? We're starting November now, and there's a lot going on. We recently published our podcast that dealt with the situation in the UK with the budget, and we have some very exciting political news happening in the United States, just south of my border, tomorrow on Tuesday, as we're recording this.
Well, of course, we're recording early in the week. This will go out at midnight Wednesday night, so
Yeah.
a day after the actual election in the US. But I guess that by the time anyone hears this on Thursday, we might have an idea of what's happened, but I don't think that we will have the final result called unless it becomes obvious that nobody can make a comeback from whatever's been counted.
Indeed. It remains to be seen how things will play out in the election, but certainly a very exciting Tuesday night is presenting itself, and I suspect that screens will be tuned in around the world. But we're here to talk today a little bit about some exciting developments in our space, Mark, with regards to this week's podcast.
Okay, well, this was one of your guests, so why don't you go ahead? And I think it involves a name change as well.
It does. It does. The name change involves GlowTouch becoming or transforming to UnifyCX. Now, there's been some really exciting developments at UnifyCX over the course of the past several months. There's been an acquisition. There's been an emphasis or a re-emphasis on the almost the reorientation towards more artificial intelligence and driving more CX solutions via AI. And I had the chance to catch up with Vidya Ravichandran, who is the CEO and the founder of UnifyCX Group. Now, Vidya and myself go back a long ways. Mark, as you know, she's been on the podcast in the past. She's a great guest. She always has a lot to talk about. But it was really interesting to catch up and find out a little bit about some of the developments at the UnifyCX Group and the direction that the company is going. But I think most importantly is Vidya is a longtime watcher of the space, a longtime participant in the space. And she has a lot to say, and she has a lot of thoughts around the direction that CX is going to be going towards the end of 2024 and into 2025. So certainly a lot of food for thought that she's going to bring to the table in this week's podcast.
Well, certainly for the past couple of years, everybody has really focused on how AI is changing the industry. So it would be great to hear, considering that they are now going for this change of focus and change of name, how Vidya sees the industry developing.
Exactly, exactly. And I think that as a company like GlowTouch that has really been progressing quite aggressively over the course of the past several years. I mean, I got to know them probably towards 2016, 2017, and they really had a vision and they acted on it. And what I love about the company is that as Unify CX, they're now moving towards a more diversified, a more technologically driven CX approach alongside using some of the elements of the recipe that have always worked. So what I'm going to suggest is it's better to hear the Unify CX story from Vidya. So why don't we shoot over to my chat with her and we can let our listeners hear for themselves. The CX Files is delighted to welcome back a previous guest who we've had on before, Vidya Ravichandran, who is the CEO of UnifyCX. And it's the UnifyCX, Vidya, which is why we've invited you to come on for a chat today to enlighten us a little bit about some of the new developments within the scope of your ever-expanding organization. But before we do, let me say how great it is to see you and to catch up with you, because it has been a while.
It most certainly has been a while, Peter, and thank you so much for inviting me back. It just seems like every time we talk, there is a lot going on in our industry and a lot of exciting developments that is relentless and nonstop. Same is true for us.
That's it.
Since the last time we talked, when I was leading GlowTouch, a 20-year-old BPO at that time, I think, when we met. It's now probably been a couple more years, 22 years since the founding of GlowTouch. We have made quite a lot of changes in our own journey. Significant transformation has taken place. A couple of years ago, about a year and a half ago, really, we brought in a financial partner to sort of join our family, so to speak, primarily because we were looking down the road, trying to understand what the future of customer care, the BPO industry, customer experience looked like. And we very much found that we were at a crossroads. And what I mean by that is, companies that have been operating traditionally in the BPO sector, we've all operated a certain way. We've got systems, process, people in place. Technology has been an enabler, but most definitely not a major differentiator in kind of how we've thought about delivering services, both from a client standpoint as well as an agent standpoint. And as we were looking down the road and looking at how AI is coming towards us and making some pretty dramatic shifts in everything that we know from a business standpoint, we had a choice to make. Do we go out and continue to operate and maybe potentially license some software as people are building out the tech? Do we go and own this puzzle from the front end and really try to figure out how we bring the technology in-house and start integrating the people piece and the technology piece and start delivering a more seamless experience to our customers? Or how do we do something to make sure that we stay relevant going into the future? Because not doing something was not an option. Then the question became, how do we actually become a part of this changing landscape? Do we become an adopter? Do we become a leader? Do we embrace change from the front? And do we actually go out to our clients and start talking about this even before they're fully aware of what's going on? And so we chose, of course, the most difficult path, which is to go out and be an early adopter, be somebody that builds out the tech internally, and essentially bring our clients along with us for the journey. And it has most certainly been a very exciting journey, a difficult journey, because there's a lot of change that happens in the world of AI, and customers that are used to working a certain way. So all in all, it's been very, very eventful since we embarked on this mission of GlowTouch transforming into UnifyCX, building out our AI platform, and essentially going out to market as a tech-led, AI-led company that is delivering customer care solutions like we've always had, but really in a very differentiated capacity with the technology as our guide.
So there's a lot to unpack with the transformation into UnifyCX, Vidya, and you've given us a bit of a basis about why this initiative sort of came to pass. And I would give yourself and the team at GlowTouch a lot of credit for recognizing that transformation is necessary. Unfortunately, I see a lot of BPOs that are still rooted in the past. I don't want to use the word Luddite, but I will. The reality is there's going to be a very different way of approaching what we do in CX moving forward. And you've talked a lot about AI as a concept. I'm very curious, what is UnifyCX's vision for AI in the customer experience domain if we think about how we're moving into the new year and beyond?
The way we are adopting AI, one of the things that you mentioned, Peter, before I answer what we're doing in 2025, one of the things you mentioned is there are still a lot of BPOs that have not really adopted the technology. There's, in my mind, two key reasons for that. BPO sort of being, generally speaking, a relatively low margin business does not allow for people to make significant investments that are required in being able to embrace and adopt newly emerging technology where the total cost of ownership is very high. That is one of the major obstacles. And two, a lot of BPOs traditionally tend not to have a lot of tech talent in-house. So that was one of the first both things that we had to address on our side, which is why I refer to bringing in our financial partners. Wonderco, a PE company out of Silicon Valley, has made an investment in us to be able to help us along this journey. But what that has allowed us to do is effectively bring on a team of software talent, software engineers, and AI engineers that is not traditionally something you would see within a BPO. So we've really started changing how we approach this. It's less BPO-esque and much more as a software company that's going out and building the technology and owning this from the front, like I said. Having said that, 2025 is going to be a year where a lot of the AI that we have in development right now will be production ready. We have been working on this for the last 18 months. So we find ourselves in a pretty fortunate position where we're able to actually bring some of these technologies in the hands of both clients as well as agents. We have a few pilots that are currently actually, a couple going into production in Q4 of this year. We've built out real-time agent assist solutions internally that's very custom tuned for our clients. So these are not generic models. These are models that have been specifically tuned on client data, client interactions. So everything that we're building out is very client specific and ready to plug and play for them, both on the front end of the clients themselves, which will effectively lead to some deflection, but also on the back end for our agents. When we deploy this to our agent desktops, it really becomes a real-time tool for them, a knowledge-based tool for them, and something that is helping them do their jobs a lot more efficiently. So that is something that we've been working on with some, very forward-thinking and forward-looking clients who are early adopters of the type of technology that we're talking about. But even beyond that, to us, we're thinking about the AI as an entirely key efficiency platform for running the entire BPO business. So what I mean by that is if you think about the life cycle of a BPO, of an agent, you think about everything from onboarding, first of all, recruiting, onboarding, training, coaching, QA, all your measurement, the entire cycle of that. There is sort of, a science behind how we have traditionally operated this, but we all know it tends to relatively be a very inefficient system. There's leakages at every point in the life cycle. And what our AI is doing is plugging those gaps. And what we believe is we're going to easily see a 10 to 20% lift just in being able to plug the gaps along the journey by being able to recruit faster, to train more efficiently, reduce the time to training, the ongoing coaching pieces, QA, real-time assistance back to our agents through the tools that we've built out, and then helping them see how they can deliver hit their KPIs, their metrics, and the reporting. And we're making all of this available, by the way, to our clients in real time. So this is a tool where the agents can effectively perform their entire job a lot more efficiently, but our clients on the back end can kind of see at a very granular agent level how each person is performing, because then it really becomes something that they know that their agents have gone through this framework and they're able to see the lift on their end. There's reduced attrition, there's reduced turnover, and the knowledge of the agents along the way is getting much more organizationally in depth, and they're delivering results at a very different scale than they would otherwise without the tools. So for us, kind of not necessarily limiting our thinking to this AI tool can help the agent by means of a chat bot, but really something that will help us transform the entirety of the business itself, has been a change in our own, evolution in our own thinking, because it's a lot easier to roll out, it's a lot easier to adopt, and we get to own the entire stack. It's almost like an AI-enabled operating system of the BPO, if you will, which is really where we're going to be in 2025.
You used some numbers there that I want to dive into for just a second. You said potentially a 10 to 20% lift for a business. Now, you touched on earlier on in the discussion video the fact that for traditional BPOs, the margins are just so razor thin.
Yeah.
And for CX departments on the enterprise side, we know that operating budgets are so constrained. So a 10 to 20% lift is actually a substantial amount of resources that can be poured back into the business.
It's very significant. And the way, the reason we believe that these are the numbers is because we've gone back and looked at historical data and done some analysis to see, what has been the leakage? Where have we lost people? And when you quantify at every point in the life cycle, where you have people that you're not putting in seats fast enough, where your training throughput is really not at 100%, and your classes are getting pushed back, each and every cycle, and you have people that you're losing through attrition, and you're losing people not meeting your metrics. You quantify all of this without a way to actually manage. Right now, we know that things are not working at various places, but how do you fix it? We don't really have very efficient tools available at our disposal for fixing this. And when you think about one system that we are building, it's not, half a dozen different systems that we are trying to string together and then try to figure out how it works. Build the entirety of the platform and the system, and you can track the entire life cycle from the time they click send for their resume all the way through their performance metrics and all the way through their ongoing management. We believe that this is a pretty significant number that that we can actually hit, because the gaps exist in our business today, and it's right for us to do something and disrupt it.
Okay, so talking about disruptive, part of the UnifyCX value prop that I think is really being strengthened recently was via the acquisition of Collective Solution. Now, I've known Collective Solution and a lot of the amazing work they've done in different parts of the world for clients in the US for quite some time. Can you talk a little bit about what the Collective Solution deal brings to the table for UnifyCX?
Yeah, Collective Solution has been a wonderful company. The acquisition has really been very exciting for us because it gave us access to scale. It gave us access to additional geos, a larger footprint in the Philippines, Honduras, Jamaica, other countries that Collective had already been operating in, but also access to logos, and some key customers that they brought to the table. But even more importantly, they really kind of met a lot of the boxes that we talked about earlier. They're well-entrenched, well-known BPO that's been delivering services to clients for almost the same length of time as GlowTouch, but really had not made any investments in technology, primarily because of all the things that we've already discussed. They fully intended to, but how to get there was always the question in the minds of the people at Collective, not having access to the AI team, not having access to the capital that would be required. So they were sort of at a similar point as GlowTouch was a couple of years ago, trying to figure out what's the next step in our journey. Because what's going to happen is those clients, had we not been able to go to all of the clients on the Collective side and say, hey, UnifyCX is going to give you a path towards AI enablement to whatever extent you're ready, when you're ready, effectively somebody else would have come in and disrupted, and they would have lost a lot of their clients, which is what I believe is going to happen, to a number of the BPOs. Is the trouble is the clients are going to slowly attrit because there's more efficient ways of doing the same type of work now, and not being able to offer that as a solution then really becomes a massive disadvantage for clients. So we were very fortunate in that we were able to go to Collective at the right time and sort of, do this transaction and bring all of those customers along for the journey. And it's really been a great bringing together of the two companies, and not to mention their culture. Never underestimate culture as we talk about technology and AI. At the end of the day, the heart of the business is still people, it's still humans. Culture matters no matter what. So they had invested a lot in their people, really had the same kind of ethos that GlowTouch had. So for us to put this transaction together, it was no surprise, and it was a coming together of two very like-minded companies that really wanted to, provide opportunities for our clients as well as our employees.
So it sounds like going into the new year, UnifyCX is very well equipped from the expanded or emboldened team of people with the acquisition of Collective Solution, as well as with almost, I would say, a new vision when it comes to AI and what it can do for disrupting CX technology. So Vidya, last question for you. Well, I'm going to make this a double-pronged question. What should we expect from UnifyCX in 2025 if you were to think about what some of the key objectives and plans of attack are? And what's your vision personally for where CX is going in the new year?
Yeah. For us, we believe in the next 12 to 18 months, there will be anywhere from 1 to 3 potential other transactions that we will do. We are actively in the market looking for other fantastic assets like Collective that would be interested kind of to come along on this exciting journey with us. So for us, expanding our scale, locations that we don't currently operate in, or giving us some kind of differentiator from a vertical strategy standpoint, those are all things that from a core business standpoint that are going to be, pretty important parameters that we will be chasing. Beyond that, deployment of our AI stack across all of the agents that we bring, on the GlowTouch side, Collective side, getting the tools in the hands of everybody to make their lives a whole lot easier. And, bringing this to our clients. Some of them are very eager to start using the AI tools. Some of them are a little bit more tentative and are taking a wait and watch approach. So that's going to be an important part of our journey in 2025 is, working with the ones that are going to be the early adopters, rolling it out for them. But, really kind of hand holding and a lot of education for some of the others that are interested, but not quite ready yet. So I see us really scaling both in terms of the technology deployment, the people side, and the customer side. Organic growth is something that we are heavily investing in as well. So we expect to see some pretty significant growth from our logo count and the customer base as well. So lots to do, lots of work to do in 2025.
Well,
and you're talking about, sorry.
That's okay.
And we're from you're talking about where we're going as an industry going forward, what we think about where we're going. Is that what your other question was?
Absolutely.
So, I actually just got off a call with another industry analyst, kind of talking about the same thing, Peter. I'd love to get your thoughts around this as well. So what we're seeing now is there was a huge amount of euphoria maybe 12 months ago, AI this, AI that, everything AI, we're so ready, just automate everything. Has not proven to be true. We've always said from the very first day, we did not believe for 1 second that technology is going to replace what people are doing, but can technology make things a whole lot more effective, efficient, give our clients something that is reliable and repeatable every time, and give our agents a much more enhanced experience in doing their jobs? We always believed that's where AI would play a significant part. And that's where we're going right now. And so what we're seeing now is there's a lot more BPOs that have started thinking about how to deploy AI, how to bring in some of the technology. Some of them are a little bit behind the curve. Some of them are even further ahead. They've actually gone out and bought other AI companies and platforms and we have chosen to build this ourselves. But one way or another, I can't really see where some part of the life cycle of the customer journey or the agent journey has not been touched by technology. In some cases, if it's a digital first type of company, potentially a lot more than some of the more traditional industries that we have clients in, whether it's insurance, financial services, some healthcare. They're going to come along the journey. But having said that, everybody is looking internally to see where there's processes that they can work with companies like us, partner with us, and try to figure out what they can make more efficient. But do I really see the type of mass disruption that we thought we were going to see? I think it's a little bit slower. It's not been as fast, which I think is the right approach, because you can't deploy powerful technologies like AI without having a great sense of responsibility around what it is that you're deploying, both on the customer side as well as the agent side, because it could potentially cause a lot more harm than good if you do not deploy technology and AI specifically a lot more responsibly. So I think people, it's very sobering to kind of see people kind of take a step, think about it, and really think about what makes sense for their businesses. And it's been great talking to people who are very thoughtful around this, rather than, let's run fast.
Yeah, exactly. I know what you mean. The hype cycle can get pretty monotonous, but Vidya, it's really great to have caught up with you today. Thank you for the update on UnifyCX, and we wish you all the best as we finish out what's been a very crazy year, and certainly 2025 looks to be quite interesting as well. And we can't wait to have you back on the CX Files for an update.
Thank you so much, Peter. I've loved being here and talking to you, and appreciate the opportunity.
Thanks for listening to the CX Files podcast. We really appreciate your feedback and suggestions. You can reach myself, Mark Hillary, or Peter Ryan via LinkedIn. Please also leave a rating or review on your favorite podcast provider, as that helps more people to find us. As always, we'd like to thank Chris Haig at Traction Media for the CX Files graphics. See you next week.